between the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet and the U.S. Agency for International Development, Power Africa. I am Sunday Bridget Jones, and I am the Chief Partnerships and Advocacy Officer for the Global Energy Alliance, and I have the distinct pleasure of doing this because I started my career at USAID a while ago, so this is absolutely terrific. We'd like to start, if we could, by having some welcoming opening remarks from Gillian Caldwell, who is the climate coordinator at USAID, and Liz Yee, who is Chief of Staff at the Rockefeller Foundation. So if I could have Gillian and Liz come up, please.
You can stand down on the applause. It's okay. Afternoon, everybody. I'm so excited about this signing, and I have also been on many emails regarding the shape and nature of this MOU, and it's really fantastic. I'm USAID's climate change coordinator, and we are in the midst of shaping an extremely ambitious whole-of-agency response to tackle the climate crisis. And one big part of this challenge, of course, is going to be how we tackle the climate crisis while we likewise tackle energy poverty, which is so endemic around the world. We've got 750 million people without electricity. And of course, electricity is a cornerstone of modern life. It helps us eat and sleep and learn. And we've got to change that. And 500 million of those people are in Africa right now. So this very powerful partnership, the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, is designed to tackle exactly those challenges. The goal is to end poverty for 1 billion people, while at the same time taking 1 billion tons of carbon emissions out of the atmosphere in the next 5 years alone in Africa as a result of this partnership. And we've got exactly the right people in the room to get us where we need to go. I want to recognize the amazing and distinguished guests that are here today. Of course, we've got Samantha Power, my boss, the head of the U.S. Agency for International Development, former UN ambassador. We have Andrew Steer, from the president and CEO of the Bezos Earth Fund, which is a major contributor to this initiative. We have Mark Corrado from Power Africa, who is leading this powerful U.S. government-wide initiative inside USAID to end energy poverty in Africa, and will be a lead implementing partner for the global alliance we're forging. And last but very certainly not least, we have 4 senators with us today, 4 U.S. senators who have been enormous champions when it comes to these issues. The renewable energy powerhouse senators, Coons, Cardin, Baldwin, and Durbin. Thank you so much for joining us. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to you, Liz. She's the executive director of the Rockefeller Foundation. Thank you.
Thanks, Gillian. Thanks, Gillian. And thank you so much for all being here today. I'm very proud to represent our foundation. Thank you, senators, for being here. Thank you, Mark, Administrator Power, and Gillian. And hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Yee. I'm the Executive Vice President of Programs at the Rockefeller Foundation and the Chief of Staff. And it's really just an honor to be able to share the Alliance with all of you. This is such an important moment, not only for the Alliance, but for all of us as citizens of this planet, to be able to get done and start moving on this important agenda. Earlier this week, with the IKEA Foundation and the Bezos Earth Fund, and dozens of other national and multinational institutions, international organizations, we launched the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet with $10 billion of initial funding to accelerate and scale the programs that we need to undertake in order to ensure a much more equitable and inclusive energy transition and energy access for people around the world. And our goal in building this alliance was really to do exactly as you said, Gillian, was to make sure that we avoid or avert 4 billion tons of carbon from the atmosphere, to make sure that we actually reach the billion people who don't currently have access or experience energy intermittency, and to really create 150 million jobs across the planet in order to ensure that people have access to economic opportunity that they don't currently have. And our collaboration with Mark and his Power Africa team are really important a piece in us achieving that impact on the ground and being able to partner with the countries across Africa. I see SE for All here too. I mean, we've got some really important partners that we need to work with to achieve this ambitious agenda. And as Gillian said, 81 of the countries really around the world are energy poor. And that to us means that that people don't have access to 1,000 kilowatts of energy a year. And you know, I looked online this morning because I said, what do I use as a person? And just, you know, as an American citizen, the average use is 10,000 kilowatt hours. So we are really leaving people an economic opportunity behind if we don't advance on this agenda. And so, you know, we're at an important moment where right now, we could improve access to electricity for decades, but now we have this important opportunity where we can really look at the confluence of technology, partnerships, and carbon emissions to advance the agenda in a real way that creates green jobs, improves the planetary outcomes, and ensures that we actually drive a much more equitable and inclusive agenda. And that's why we built this alliance. And that's why, Mark, I'm so glad you're here today on behalf of Power Africa to help advance this agenda for countries. So I hope you will all join us in changing energy for good. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Liz and Gillian. I have the distinct honor of inviting Senator Cardin from the great state of Maryland to come up to give remarks. Senator?
Well, first, thank you very much for inviting us to this historic announcement and signing ceremony. It's extremely exciting. First, I just really want to make a couple comments about the fact that there are 18 United States senators who have come to COP26. It tells you something about the priorities that we've set in dealing with the climate crisis of the globe. And I just really want to thank all my colleagues for participating. Senator Durbin, Senator Baldwin, thank you very much for being here, and thank you so much for your leadership. Senator Coons, I have a special thank you for him. I think you all know this, that as far as sub-Saharan Africa, as far as Africa as a continent is concerned, there's been no greater champion than Chris Coons in the United States Senate. He has been our leader in initiating the types of programs that we need to pay the right attention to what we're doing in Africa. So really a pleasure to be with him. We serve on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee together. He has authored so many initiatives to deal with these issues, including Electrify Africa. So all that is, I want to make it clear, I'm proud of his work. Ambassador Powell, I want you to know that your work has been absolutely incredible. Nothing makes me more proud when I see the U.S. leadership in moving forward to a more peaceful and safe world. And what happens at USAID every day is America's leadership in providing the economic resources, the healthy resources, the housing, the education, so that we can have a more peaceful world. And to me, that's when America is at its best. And under the leadership of Ambassador Power, we've seen USAID take on this challenge in a very, very difficult environment. So when we look at the energy issue, yes, the Electrify Act of 2016 that I worked on with Senator Corker and Senator Coons, it was one of the chapters on what we are trying to do with Africa. In sub-Saharan Africa, since 2013, we've seen first-time electricity to 118 million people. That's an astonishing number that have been connected. 25 million homes and businesses have been connected as a result of your efforts. 134 power projects. These are astonishing numbers that we've been able to do, and yet we have so much more that needs to be done. And what does it mean? You're talking about a quality of life of a person. We just turn on our lights and we think about nothing about it. But in a large part of the world, that's not possible. You've made it possible through the work that you've done on Power Africa. And now, under the Rockefeller Foundation, establishing the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet in cooperation with USAID. You've made this possible for people to be able to have a quality of life. And as part of that, you've allowed for the economic development and future through the economic development of the people that you have benefited. This is really what this is all about. And it's been made more challenging because of climate. So you've added the climate dimension to your work. So we do it in a way that will make the world safer in regards to carbon emissions. So this is a win-win-win situation, and we're so proud to be part of it. And then you're advancing the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goal number 7. Look, I'm a big fan of the SDGs at the United Nations. I think it was one of the most dramatic programs ever created under the United Nations, under any international group, where we set goals, we had accountability, and we made a difference. We reduced poverty. We helped women. We dealt with so many issues. And now we're advancing that in regards to the electricity issue so that we don't have electricity deserts here in America. By the way, I'll put a plug in for SDG 16 also. I always do good governance. I'd be disappointed if I didn't put a plug in for that one as well. But so we're here at COP26. And U.S. leadership is here. And that makes me proud because I know what we're doing here in America by saying what we said in Paris in 2015, when we set our goal at 1.5, it was the right thing to do. U.S. leadership in 2015 found a formula with the nationally determined contributions that we could come together as a global community with every nation taking on the responsibility. Now we have to make sure that becomes a reality because we haven't completed the work of COP21. And yes, the developed world needs to help to make sure that's accomplished through our technology and resources. This partnership is helping us to achieve those objectives. So congratulations to all involved in the Memorandum of Understanding that will shortly be signed, that will be able to establish a $10 billion platform. That's big news. And we're all here to witness it. Congratulations. It's an honor to be part of this presentation.
Thank you so much, Senator Cardin, for those uplifting words. Win, win, win. I love that. Well, I would like to introduce a fireside chat between two change makers in the space. I'm really honored to invite Administrator Samantha Power, as well as President and CEO of the Bezos Earth Fund, Andrew Steer, to come up. We'll have a conversation about the genesis of the Global Energy Alliance, People and Planet. Please do, Sam, come on up. Maybe I know her as Sam, but I think I should call her Administrator Power, and the significance of the partnership, particularly for Africa. So please, over to you both.
Great. Thank you so much. I think this is going to be one of the shortest fireside chats in history because we want to get to the signing and hear, I think, from Senator Coons, who's got a few things to say. It's so great to have you, Senator Durbin, Senator Baldwin as well. Like, what a showing. So delighted for you all to be here. Senator Gillibrand. I think, what do we hear? 18 U.S. senators. That's just awesome. So it, I think, shows that we are building an even sturdier foundation for the work that we do. And I do have to say that in the past, with the past administration, USAID laid the foundation for this kind of work. It made the kind of progress that we're talking about under Power Africa, thanks to the leadership of Mark Green, but above all, because of the bipartisan support that Senator Coons and Senator Graham, I think, were able to bring with Senator Leahy and others, from the Senate, and that's been incredibly important. So thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for the bipartisan support. Thanks to all of you for your counsel on how we do this right. I'm looking forward to the partnership agreement, but I think we are going to spend a minute talking about it. So let me start by asking you, Andrew, what is driving this Global Energy Alliance from your standpoint?
Well, first, let me thank you, Ambassador Powell. I mean, it is wonderful to see within USAID the vitality, the growth, inspiration. And we are truly, truly grateful. And for Power Africa, what an honor, Mark, for us to work alongside you. You, as the Senator just said, have demonstrated how to do it and what the job of the Global Energy Alliance is to help you turbocharge that, to help go to the next stage. And thank you, Senator, for being here. I mean, this is very, very encouraging, let me tell you. The 18 senators that are here are being noticed. It's making a difference. We're crossing tipping points because of it. So thanks very much. So some of us have been in the business of global energy for a long time. You know, I've run big programs at the World Bank on energy, for the British government on energy, and then more recently as president of the World Resource Institute on energy. All of them doing great jobs. The problem is it's not adding up. The problem is not adding up in two senses. Sense number one, simply the scale isn't there. I mean, Africa has 40% of the potential and 1% of the installed capacity. We need to do much better, and we now know how to do better. But there are three things that we've come to the conclusion that are missing. Thing number one is politics, policy, plans. Thing number two, pipeline development, including aggregation of often small distributed renewable energy programs into something that actually is scalable and investable in. Thing number three, serious de-risking for the private sector and, in certain circumstances, subsidy. So our idea was, let's, instead of doing something specifically, Rockefeller, you do something maybe with the World Bank, Bezos Earth Fund, you do something maybe with IRENA. Instead, why don't we create something that makes the whole add up to more than the sum of the parts? And so what we've done is put together what we hope will be maybe $2 billion of grant financing from philanthropy and maybe some bilateral donors as well. Then put together all of the DFCs, DFIs in the world, including the wonderful US DFC, the IFC, the European ones, and so on. Then all the multilaterals, they're all now signed up, keen to do it. They're willing to work together. And quite frankly, they haven't always been working together, to be absolutely honest. And so that's the idea. And then finally, which was still work in progress, where is the big money? 2 days ago, we heard $130 trillion of money under assets that is now committed, and money under management that's now committed to net zero, all of which will be looking for green investments. And as of today, virtually none of it will reach the developing world, and certainly very little Africa. And the reason for that is that we simply don't have the context yet in Africa that is right. And one of the great tragedies would be, and I spoke to Mark Carney about this yesterday, is as we've had this triumph of commitment to net zero, potentially that will shrink the funding to Africa. Why? Because they need green investments. They're used to doing old investments in Africa. They're risk averse. So we need to create a welcoming and Power Africa is already starting to do that. And for us, truthfully, Samantha, it is an incredible honor to work with you, and I commend you for the work you're doing.
Well, and you. I think you might have a question for me, Andrew.
Well, where next for you? Where next for, I've got a million questions for you, but as you think about the future of Power Africa and you think about your Africa strategy, sort of, you've been here now for a few days, you've been in your job now for 9 months. So, and we're all watching you, and we're all loving what we're seeing.
Well, it's
so
early
where
days.
next? Inspire us with where you're going.
Well, I mean, I think, first of all, that one of the things we have to do in this space, and I credit Mark and his team for managing this domestically in some, choppy waters, but we do have to convince people that this is a both-and proposition, that you can end energy poverty and spearhead the transition to renewables and to green energy at the same time. And there's some skepticism out there for the reason that you say, sort of, again, pre-existing planning. I was just looking at the statistic that 450 gigawatts of new coal plants are planned in developing countries. And those countries are hungry for that energy. And so one of the things that we have the ability to do at USAID with the backing of our friends on the Hill, and indeed even the diplomacy by the senators as they travel as well, is we engage government at the policy level, at the regulatory level, right, to change the enabling frameworks that exist. But we also, what Power Africa I think has done so well, and what we're looking forward to doing in partnership with you, is in bringing new energy sources online, we have the chance to do it right the first time. So in a perverse way, to take advantage of the fact that 570 million people in sub-Saharan Africa don't have electricity. That's a terrible fact. That's the energy poverty that is impeding people's access to health care, ensuring that girls are having to read by kerosene light and all of the pollutants that then that means they are inhaling from the standpoint of their health. They need electrification, for sure. But we have the possibility now through innovation to be able to take advantage of off-grid sources and no longer rely on these centralized power plants that really are going to inherently privilege people in urban areas over the rural poor. And that's where so much of these electrification needs are. So again, the objective that we are setting, just to state it outright, is by 2030 for 50% of the energy in sub-Saharan Africa to come from renewables. And I think we're on a path to do it, but it won't, there's no way it'll happen if it's just via the public sector, as you say. And now we're very lucky to have philanthropic energy behind this, but public, private, philanthropic, that is the way we're going to get there. And it's about spreading electrification, but doing so in a way we don't come to regret.
Amen. Amen. Just one more question. What you bring, of course, which we can't bring, is engagement with governments. And if this is going to work, you actually need top of the office, the whole of government, quite frankly. I mean, a few days ago, we were doing a little exercise, thinking through how do you bring electrification to the Democratic Republic of Congo when most people live 500 miles from the nearest transmission line. So you have to do it distributed. But you need governments to provide an enabling environment. And I think, one of the great things about, if you think about what we've got here, we've got you as a sort of very senior player in the development world. We've got senators who are, can talk to anybody. We've got a president of the United States that truly believes in this stuff. I mean, with this firepower, we're going to have to shift the politics as well.
Well, I agree, and you heard President Biden at the UN General Assembly this year talk about moving from the era of relentless war, as it's commonly understood, to that of relentless diplomacy and relentless development. And so that's the pitch, that's the ambition. But as countries are feeling the effects of climate change, the people here who've been, like you, who've been working on these issues for decades, have been warning that these effects were coming for generations. Now that countries are feeling the effects, I think it's represented in the fact that, now nearly 70% of the world's economies have committed to this 1.5 Celsius goal. You see the nationally determined contributions, the ambition of those going up for most, but not all countries, unfortunately. But those who find themselves outside that 1.5 degrees Celsius commitment, those who find themselves, thinking in old ways about how to bring electricity online, I think they're people. They are accountable fundamentally to their people. And I think the popular awareness and the concentration of popular energy, as it were, that is reflected in this COP, but in also the protesters who are down the street not satisfied with where we are in this COP, understandably, right? Because we know we're not yet where we need to go. And this needs to be the inflection point that kicks off this decade of heightened ambition and action. But it is that accountability to the people, I think, that is going to make it easier for our technical experts and those from the Department of Energy and NOAA and NASA and the Department of Interior and USDA, all of the learning that we are doing across borders. It's fundamentally that leaders need legitimacy, and legitimacy is only going to come from this effort to mitigate and from greater resources also being invested to help countries and farmers and citizens adapt to the effects we know unfortunately are coming.
What a brilliant way to end. That was
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I think we now get on to the signing and some more speeches. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Administrator Power. And Andrew, if we can have Administrator Power and Liz Yee come up to do the moment we've been waiting for.
Okay, I think we're on the other side. You have to stay there for a few more minutes. One of our cameras out.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Thank you. If I can invite my good friend, Mark Corrado, who is coordinator for Power Africa, to come up and close us out.
Thank you. Wow, what a moment. What an absolute moment. I'm inspired. I hope all of you are. I can't wait to start actually implementing on this. That's where the action happens. You know, I think if you ask me the signatures of these two transformational leaders, in fact, not just the signatures, but the leadership we see in front of us, all of these leaders in respective international development realms has just put into concert a world of partnerships, development pathways, cross-platform possibilities, and tools for this promising new alliance. All aimed squarely at ending energy poverty and systematically accelerating a carbon-free future. Put an end to our climate crisis and deliver on universal energy access. This is decisive action for a decisive decade and a game changer for the continent. As noted, I'm Mark Corrado. I'm the coordinator of Power Africa. I'm absolutely privileged to be so. It is probably the best job I've ever had, probably might ever have. So very excited to be here. Hopefully you know that we're the largest public-private partnership initiative for the U.S. government. And in that way, I think we're a very unique player who's in the international U.S. development space that addresses key development goals with a focus on ending energy poverty and ensuring increased economic growth through inclusive access. Since 2013, as already been noted, this is what gives me inspiration every morning. 118 million people across sub-Saharan Africa, in part due to Power Africa's efforts and the partnership that it represents, and through connecting 25 million homes and businesses and 12.5 gigawatts of power, now have power for the first time. That is amazing to me, and I hope we can only get started with those numbers and continue to move. That's been achieved because of what I mentioned, partnership, and partnerships like this. 170 public and private sector partners, including not one, not two, but a dozen U.S. government agencies, that are not only aligned to a goal, but using competitive advantages, ones where we use the best part of each agency, each partner to get the job done. Instead of all just doing and working together toward a goal, we use each other. And I think that's why Power Africa is special and why we've been able to do what we've done so far and why we're just getting started. We're all tremendous beneficiaries today by the leadership we've heard. But Power Africa has been made possible only because of the extraordinary vision and leadership of a lot of people. And Senators Cardins and Coons, in particular, with Electrify Africa, have been the reason that we've been here. So we're tremendously lucky to have them here as original sponsors of the bill. They're the architects of a truly cross-government approach to tackling energy poverty. So we're very proud to have you today here, Senators, at this milestone. You're steadfast Power Africa and global energy champions, and two of the most impressive leaders at inspiring and enabling human potential in the democratic tradition. So all senators who have been here, thank you very much. But Senator Coons in particular, thank you so much for your leadership for Electrify Africa. Can I please give you the podium and share some thoughts? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for an opportunity to be with all of you and to celebrate this historic MOU. Great ideas are worth extending, nurturing, and growing dramatically. To Samantha Power and everybody at USAID, happy 60th birthday. This is the 60th anniversary of USAID. If you think about it for just a moment, back during the depths of the Depression, FDR came up with the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, in a bill that is, God willing, about to make it to President Biden's desk. The Civilian Climate Corps will put $30 billion into a dramatic expansion of a program launched under President Clinton, AmeriCorps, and turning it towards the very issue that is convening all of us here at COP26. If you think about the Peace Corps, launched under President Kennedy, and how it has survived and been expanded and been sustained across administrations of both parties. And if you think about Power Africa, an initiative that began under President Obama, was sustained under President Trump, and is now getting supercharged with this fantastic MOU. It is a reminder that good ideas are worth nurturing, investing in, and expanding. So first, I want to make sure I thank my friend, Senator Cardin. We've served alongside each other on the Foreign Relations Committee. We've partnered on legislation like Electrify Africa, which created the foundation for Power Africa, like the BUILD Act, which created the Modern Development Finance Corporation. And my other friends and colleagues, Senators Baldwin and Gillibrand, who are here, let me briefly talk about the nearly 24 members of Congress who are here at COP26. I'm leading a bipartisan delegation, and later today we're doing a roundtable with House Republicans and a Senate Republican. Why does that matter? 5 years ago, when I was in Paris at COP21, there were dueling delegations of senators. A group from one party saying climate change is a hoax and we don't need to do anything about it, and a delegation from another party saying climate change is very real and very urgent and we need to act. We're in a different place today. We may not agree, all of us, on every policy proposal, but it is undeniable today that younger Americans, and today thousands of young people from around the world, are demanding urgent change, and in the United States that is changing the politics around climate. Let me make sure I thank Andrew, the folks at Bezos for your remarkable investment, that I thank the folks at the Rockefeller Foundation, Liz, and my dear friend Raj Shah. I hope you will give him my greetings. Thank you for this landmark investment. To Sunda Bridget Jones, to Gillian Caldwell, for your leadership across so many different chapters in your life, and now leading resiliency and climate at USAID. And Mark Corrado, thank you for what you're doing to carry forward this fantastic vision. If you think about it, it is rare that when we legislate in Congress, we get to see something actually make a difference in the world. When I was a young man living in Kenya 40 years ago, energy poverty was everywhere. There was virtually nowhere in the country that was electrified outside of a few major cities. And there was virtually nowhere in the country that had access to a telephone. The phone book for the entire country was this thick. Today, not only does every Kenyan have a cell phone, but innovation in mobile banking and in mobile services is actually farther ahead in Kenya than in the United States. We've seen dramatic jumps in technology and technology adoption and adaptation in the developing world. There is no reason why we can't see 500 million Africans not just pull together to innovate and overcome energy poverty, but to literally lead the world in figuring out how to make robust, resilient, and renewable small grid, off-grid renewable connections. I still remember meeting with a group in Kenya, Usaid, that was coming up with a way to deal with how to power a laptop in a country where sometimes you had power, sometimes you didn't, sometimes you had Wi-Fi, sometimes you had cell. And they said, if we can build a solution that works here in Kenya, we've built a solution that works for the entire world. So too with Power Africa. If you think about the potential that this MOU is unlocking, it is the potential to answer the energy needs of the entire world. I was recently in Colombia and in Ecuador and in Sudan and in UAE in the recent months. There is so much unlocked potential and need. So we can honor what has been USAID's mission for 60 years through this MOU that is going to address poverty and development needs in 60 countries, and we can do it thanks to Power Africa and to our private sector and philanthropic partners in a way that unlocks the potential of the 21st century, so that when all of us gather at COP31, we're talking about how this was a landmark moment, an important day where USAID and the United States government and our philanthropic partners began the next chapter in partnering with people all over the continent of Africa in unlocking human potential, energy potential, and a clean energy future. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Senator Cardin. And on behalf of the IKEA Foundation, Senator Coons, yes, on behalf of the IKEA, Senator Coons from Delaware, I know who you are. I was just thinking. I've been in meetings with you and Raj, so excuse me for that. On behalf of the IKEA Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the Bezos Earth Fund, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. As you all have heard, it's time for us to go. So let's go change energy. Thank you. We're going to have a family photo at the moment, and if we could have Senator Coons and the other senators with us and Administrator Power just take a quick photo. Thank you.